Hi everybody, I'm Mark Boundy. Today's video is a request. Somebody saw some of my prior videos about kind of the general methodology versus value focus, why value focus doesn't compete with methodology but expands on it and it amplifies it. And they said, can you give that to me on a specific methodology so I can see a little bit more about what that really means within a specific methodology? And I thought, that's a great idea. So that's what I'm doing. I decided to choose a methodology, not the one that I'm super familiar with, that I've been using for 25, almost 30 years, Miller-Hyman. I'm using one that's a lot simpler. It's pretty popular in the SaaS market, and it has a lot of commonalities with every other methodology, including the Miller-Hyman strategic selling, but it's really very concise. And so I thought that would make a really great way, certainly a shorter video, but it'd make a great way to do some really crisp comparison. So today I'm going to share the comparisons to a specific methodology, and I'm happy to do it with another methodology if you'd like. So here's the methodology I chose. It's called MEDDIC, which is an acronym. I chose it because it's simple, it's direct, it's straightforward. It has a lot in common with every methodology you've ever heard of. It probably has a lot in common with your methodology. It happens to be used in the SaaS and software market, which is one that I'm very active in. So I'm starting to become very familiar with that, in addition to the methodology I practiced forever, the Miller-Hyman strategic selling methodology. And so here is what that acronym stands for. M is metrics, and that is, what is the financial impact of the purchase? I love getting right to the bottom of it, finding how will we measure success monetarily. This is a great part of this methodology. Then is, who is the economic buyer? And that is, they call it who has P&L responsibility. It's kind of a nitpick. Not everybody will actually have P&L responsibility, but it is the person who is going to be interested in finding out what is the ROI they are going to buy on an ultimate P&L or ROI type of criteria. So it's a nitpick because somebody may or may not actually have P&L on their title or in their job description, but the idea is very sound. It's somebody who has the ultimate buying decision and will be buying based on an ROI type of decision. So what are the decision criteria? And that is, how will they be comparing the different solutions? Are there any technical, vendor, or financial criteria? You know, what are the criteria that are people? Well, you know, what does the spreadsheet look like where you're just another column? So what are all the areas they're going to be comparing? And then what is the decision process? Who's involved? Is there any testing involved or validation? So what is the process? What order does it happen? What are what's going to happen? Identify the pain. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but the idea here is to look at the business objectives that your customer is trying to solve for. And so these are the business objectives to be separated from how are you going to measure success financially. Both of those are really important. I don't love pain, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And then who is your champion? And that is, they say who's going to sell on your behalf. Again, I have a little bit of a nitpicking with that. I want to say who's going to advocate. If somebody's selling on your behalf, they may lose internal credibility, which affects their ability to sell, but you get the idea. Some people have actually added another C, so it's still pronounced MEDDIC, but in addition to champion, they want to find out who is the competition, which is, I'm good with that, I guess. So that's MEDDIC in a nutshell. Good, complete, very concise, and you can see that it's really there to really make sure that your selling activities really mirror the buyer, what's important to them, their criteria, their buying decision, and making sure that you are tightly in sync with that buying process. Now, anybody who's heard me talk on any of these things before has seen me invoke this cycle of mediocrity. And This is kind of research based. A whole lot of research has gone into this, but the idea is that salespeople are kind of unremarkable. They answer the questions they're asked, but they don't go beyond that. They don't understand the customer's business well enough to go on beyond that. So customers don't like using them. They self-inform, and when they self-inform, they develop their own idea of their vision of success, what kind of solution they're looking for, what kind of outcomes they're looking for, and they may or may not, they probably do not, incorporate anything that your company differentiates on in that vision of success, unless you got really lucky and did a great job, and your content folks are much better than most. So that vision of the future is when they engage salespeople, and salespeople will then go through and try to find out what the customer's needs. MEDDIC helps you mirror your selling process, mirror that customer predefined, self-educated image for the future, concept for the future. So the selling organization that most closely ties into that customer's selling vision is probably going to do a great job. And so I am a big fan of using methodology to make sure that you do that. But remember, every one of your competitors is going after that same customer self-defined vision of the future. If you have any differentiation, this methodology ignores it, is silent on it. Any methodology practitioner will say, well, our best salespeople do that. Our best salespeople are really good at finding our differentiation, and they insert that in. Well, great. Why isn't your methodology doing that so every one of your salespeople don't? Not just your best salespeople. Shouldn't you have an addition to your methodology that helps all of your people do that? So the idea is, if you have a much better idea of your customer's business, you can come up with more financial impacts, more interesting financial impacts. That means you may or may not be able to talk to those executives. You know, every methodology says it's really important to talk to that economic buyer, and here's how to get to them. And the best ones say, when you get there, talk executive language to them. But they don't help, and nothing helps any of your salespeople actually have those executive conversations on business outcomes that you are best at delivering to those executives. So now we give you the skeleton of how to get a hold of people and some pointers on what to talk to them about, but we don't take your value into consideration to actually give you a discussion guide for how to have those meaningful executive conversations. And then when you have differentiation, now you can change some of the criteria in your favor. You can change some of who's involved. You can actually, if some of your differentiation adds to the team, you can actually add to that decision team rather than the pre-cooked decision team based on the possibly oversimplified vision of the future. You can add more people, one of whom is likely to be your advocate. In contrast, when all the competitors are trying to most closely match that customer vision for the future, it's not in very many people's interest at the customer to advocate on your behalf. They only want to advocate if there's a clear difference to them. There's a social risk to being an advocate or being a champion inside a company. And if you are just really good at understanding the customer's buying process, but you haven't articulated how you're different, you're not going to find an advocate. So you can add people, one of whom might be an advocate. I have this kind of thing about the word identifying pain, and I use this 2x2 matrix. And I'll talk about pain, which is negative outcomes, gain, which are positive outcomes, and this is known. Now that's what happens over here in the customers already defined, so those are the outcomes, the known pains and gains that they are talking with every one of your competitors about. So this is what they're talking to your competitors about. If it's just pain, you're even talking about half of that. But here is unknown, or unanticipated. Some place where you can challenge their vision of the future, challenge their perception of what outcomes they can expect, challenge what kind of financial impacts they can get with your differentiated offer. Again, no methodology excludes that, but no methodology includes it either. They allow your great salespeople to go and figure out how to do this on their own. I want to figure out what your differentiation is so we can get all of your salespeople doing it right away. So that's the difference in this methodology, and it's really similar. You know, I could do the same thing with every methodology. This one was just really simple, you know, a 6-letter acronym, 7 if we add competition. And I hope this was useful for you. Thanks. Call me if you have any questions.